The latest update has arrived in Marvel Strike Force. There's some positives, there's some negatives, there's some bugs. We're discussing it all along with Deathpool, these new warriors, and the upcoming events. And if you're ready for it, guys, I'm joined by my brother Philosopher on your Marvel Strike Force Weekly News Update. And if you're ready for it, Philosopher, tell him what to do, my brother.
Hey guys, let's go smash it.
ValleyFlyin.
Hello. What is up, Valley Maniacs? I am ValleyFlyin. Welcome back to the channel and your Marvel Strike Force Weekly News Update. Today, I am joined by my brother Philosopher, and we are talking all about Marvel Strike Force, the latest update that dropped, everything that went on in the past week or so, and everything that is coming up in this upcoming week. So without further ado, brother Philosopher, what is up, man? How are you feeling?
I'm doing good. I'm a little sleepy. I was up, so I spent so many hours playtesting Deathpool last night. I had to stay up late for work, but excited that we're having some new content. Excited that we've got some new stuff added to the game. People now can level, get work on their levels. That all that sort of stuff is interesting. But of course, with any Scopely release, there's a lot of bugs as well.
Yeah. And we got a list of them that we talk about. Some that were addressed by Cerebro, some that weren't addressed yet. But without further ado, this will be too long if we chit chat. So let's talk about in the game right now. We have Deathpool in the game, and you spent some time with her. We spent some time. You spent some time last night testing her out. So what are your overall thoughts? Your overall impression on Deathpool?
She's very good. She's not quite what I expected, though. I will tell you this, like, at least on a first initial reaction. In other words, she's like a top 4 health, top 4 damage character. I think she's second in one and fourth in the other in the game.
Yeah.
So super stats. Her kit seems ridiculous. That insta kill on the ultimate seems super OP. But I have to say, I got her. So I maxed her out. G15, level 3 blue ISO. Brought her 4 red stars, and she held her own in raids. She was doing fine, obviously without the full team, but like in arena or RTA or whatever, she was okay. I mean, I think what made her better than I thought, the parts of her kit that were better than I thought were her survivability. She really is hard to kill, and I love the out of turn damage where she's got like a ping element when an enemy dies, but the insta-kill thing takes quite a long time to get rolling.
Yeah, it's like every 5 times you use that ultimate, and then you get a little extra charge every time you spawn, but it does take a while. Now, I was a little disappointed, and it doesn't sound like you're too hyped about her, like this is the next Kestrel, or this is the next Silver Surfer. Sounds like a good character. Where do you see her having viability? Just in the raids? Do you see that extended to other game modes? Maybe War, maybe Dark Dimension? I know I've gotten a lot of questions. I'm sure you've gotten a lot about Dark Dimension as well. Where do you see her viable? Just raids or other game modes as well?
Yeah, I definitely see, obviously, raids. I think Dark Dimension for sure. The issue, though, in Dark Dimension is there are so many strong cosmic characters that, she's got a lot of competition, right, for cosmic, whether you have Kestrel, Silver Surfer, all of Infinity Watch, and so forth. The rest of her team, by the way, is in City, so she's not going to have Cloak and Dagger with her. But she's still going to be great in Dark Dimension. I did test her out in DD3 yesterday just to see how she did in that environment. She was excellent there. I will say that I do think she'll be good in War just because all of the newer characters are so OP in terms of stats and everything else. So she'll be good in War. I think the question is, where does this team change the meta? And I do think Cloak and Dagger with her in War are going to change up the War meta.
Oh, okay. Well, I hope it leaves some room for beating that Heroes for Hire, because Shang Chi was also released. We're going to talk about him, but to get Deathpool, she has an event coming up this Friday, August 20th. And to do that event, you're going to need to use this Devoted trait, the new trait that was released in the game, kind of like a normal event, right? We're getting we're using cores, refreshing the nodes for later players with bigger rosters. Kind of an easy event. You're kind of auto through this. And you do you see any of the newer players, mid-game players that don't have like these larger rosters? Do you see them struggling with this, given which characters have this devoted trait?
Yeah, it depends. I actually spent some time looking through this yesterday. So I think that if you're, for example, somebody who's been playing a lot over the last couple months, you're going to be fine. So I know newer players who have a similar size Sam to you. Like they'll even, you know, there are guys who started 2 months ago, but they have their 2 red star Sam, you know, Captain Sam, or they've got, I know players who've been playing 2-3 months who have a Infinity Watch team without Adam Warlock. So they'll have, for example, Phyla-Vell and Moondragon, like you see there. You know, there are newer players running all 3 Secret Avengers. So I think those players will be fine if they've been investing in them, you know, whether they're in medium or hard. But I think, you know, the hard mode, if you haven't geared up those new characters, is tough because there's a big fall off after those newer characters.
Yeah.
Where you've got, you know, it's just kind of OG X-Men and Brotherhood and so forth. What I will say is the medium difficulty, they added some additional characters that are not on this list. I saw Doc Ock, some others, broader Thanos, some broader array. So I think that's going to help new players. And then once they get Deathpool, if they can gear her up, they can use her on the hard nodes, so they might be able to get some of the nodes down that way.
Now, we also have another event, not just the normal character release event. We go to this event section right here. It is a chance to get more shards, and and it looks like from this picture ad, you're getting some miasma, which is another bottleneck that's created by Deathpool. We're getting a lot of miasma bottlenecks. We've just had Deathpool released, takes miasma. Cloak is coming up, will take miasma. Warlock was a recent character. Miasma is his Gear 13 unique. Doom, Hela, the list goes on. I mean, what is up with all these miasma? Do you think all of this stuff was on purpose? Like, oh, we need to create this bottleneck that used to be there for alien spores. Let's create another one with miasma. Or do you think that the devs were like, let's just do this, and not paying attention to this? Or do you think this was intentional?
I think it's intentional. It kind of pissed me off, to be honest with you, because I've been making an issue of this to the devs. I know you have too, Valley, about the G13 uniques. It's ridiculous that there are players who run out of the G13 uniques, but they have tons of the 14 or the 15, right? I mean, it's just massive.
It seems so backwards.
It's so bizarre. And so we've been bugging them about this. So what do? They introduce more offers. So we got all these offers for like $10. I'm sure you've been seeing the same offers I have for the G13
I saw
units.
Alien Spore one, and there it is. It just popped up.
Yeah, there you go. There's your offers. That's your answer. Like, you and I have been complaining about this. So what do? Okay, we'll put some offers in there for $10. And oh yeah, now we're going to create a new bottleneck. It's like we're teaching them how to screw us over or something. Unbelievable.
Well, I don't know, man. I hope with the introduction of Teal that these Gear 13 bottlenecks go away, because I don't know, 10 of these alien spores for $10 doesn't seem worth it. They don't seem like they're worth $1 each, since, I mean, this was the bottleneck, what, 2 years ago? 3 years? 2 years ago, maybe? And
you need so many of them. You need so many of them to get the character to G15. It's like I buy them for gold. I mean, what I've been doing now, as I've resorted to, I refresh the supply store multiple times a day, and I buy every G13 unique until I get to like 65 or so. Oof. And that gets me one character up to maximum, and then I have to start over again for the next character. It's brutal.
How's your miasma supply right now? Because Cloak is coming out later in this update. Are you ready for Cloak right now, or are you trying to refresh it with all those? Or you refresh your supplies with the refreshing the stores, what you're doing with the cores?
Yeah, I'm refreshing. I thought I was ahead of the game because I had 65 miasma stored up, but now I'm back to 0. So exactly.
All right, and this event for Deathpool, are you expecting to easy 6 or 7 star this time?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you're an experienced player, for sure, because you're going to get some shards from the milestones as well. I mean, what I've been recommending is, you know, even if you're a free-to-play player or you're a very limited budget kind of player, you have your stockpile of cores. I know some free-to-play players told me they kind of stock up for months, like they have their stockpile. I'd go all in on Deathpool just because, you know, we can quibble about where she ranks in the game, whether she's top 5, 10, 15, 20. You know, you have a chance as a player here to get a very top of the meta character for free. And I just think if you're on a limited budget in particular, you need to take full advantage of that.
Now, I think I would recommend most players doing at least the 50s. Are you going to the 50s? Are you going to the 100s? Are you going to the 200s? How hard are you personally going on this event?
I always do the hundreds, which usually gets me to like 6.5 on a regular event without these additional, this a post-mortem or whatever this is. I usually get to about 6.5 or more, depending on my luck with doing the hundreds. And buying I buy the initial offers for the stream and all that.
Okay. So I think that's where the confusion was with Sharon Carter. I was like, I finished this event. I spent 100 core. I spent all the hundreds. I spent the 50s and the hundreds. I didn't end up with that 6 or 7. And so I guess those offers was what Cerebral was talking about before. But let's talk about the running mates of Deathpool. The new warriors, the additional new warriors. We got the kits revealed early this week, and it looks like they was pretty accurate as far as what the Russian datamines that we saw a couple weeks ago. They look very, very strong, and they look like they are the solution for Doom. They look like there's a solution for some Doom 2 when it comes out. Where do you see these guys falling when they are a full team in comparison to how strong Secret Avengers were?
They look very similar to me, if not just as strong or stronger. One thing that is, I think, sneaky good here, or that people may not focus on, is that you have it right up in the screen there. In raids, when an enemy gains offense down, reduce the speed bar of that enemy by 15%. If you look through these kits, they're throwing offense down all over the place. And it's essentially the opposite of how we have like the symbiotes or the X Factor. They're always gaining speed bar. This is not quite as good because you can't reduce the speed bar below 0, but you can imagine the enemy could never take a turn, right? If they just keep getting offense down on them and keep getting the speed bar reduced. So I think that's very, very powerful. And then this health redistribution that's right above that, that's very powerful ability as well in Dark Dimension. So what I think is going to happen is, for a long time, I've been telling players for DD4, hey, you got to do the symbiotes. That's your only choice. Now I think Cloak and Dagger and City are going to be a really viable choice, because Cloak all the time is going to be doing this health steal. You see, if Dagger's an ally, it's always 100%. So right below that. So I think that's going to be pretty powerful.
Yeah, and especially outside of Dark Dimension, when they're in the raids, they're getting the extra damage for all of them. Do you think that at the low star level, kind of like Secret Avengers, you'll be able to auto through Doom 1.1 with these characters and maybe Silver Surfer and either Warlock or Doom or someone?
Wow. At low star levels, I don't know. I mean, one thing I will say that is very helpful for this, that's friendly to players who have low star levels, is the dodge and the evade. So one of the characters gets extra dodge chance. You're looking at that here. The other one gets an evade every turn. And to me, that's very helpful to players who have the lower star levels. If you got a 3-star, if let's say you just blitzed hard and you're free to play and you got a 3-star character, the evade works just as well if you have 3 stars or 7 stars. Whereas like something that adds a percentage health or some other mechanic may not work as well if you have a smaller star level in a character.
Very true. Very true. I didn't think about the dodge and evades because you're not taking damage. What are you shooting for personally with these characters? They look like they are necessary for Doom 2. They look like they're going to be necessary for getting that teal gear and eventually getting into Dark Dimension 5 at a decent time frame. What are you shooting for as far as red stars for these? I know it's kind of out of your control, but if you got this number, you would stop for these characters. 4, 5. Higher, maybe?
I stop at 5. I know some of my alliance mates go for 6, 7. I don't. The amount of resources it takes to get a 6 red star in a character is insane. Like, you can blow through hundreds and hundreds of red star orbs. I have enough trouble getting 5. As anyone who watches my videos and streams knows, I often open 150 red star orbs to get a 5 red star, something like that. So it's hard. That's where I think I'll stop. But I mean, okay. I'm definitely going hard on these characters because I'm going to be racing to try to be one of the early people in DD5 and all that. I'll do my best, and you're going to need these characters, I think.
Yeah, I think these are going to be very, very strong characters. And you do think they're going to have the viability for Dark Dimension, for Cloak and Dagger in particular?
Yeah, I think in city section, I mean, if you're a new player who's getting close to DD3 or DD4 and you think you're going to be able to unlock these characters, I don't know the unlock method yet, but I would, be keeping them in mind and be careful about putting gear in the symbiotes for the short term, because you might be better off investing heavily in Cloak and Dagger, because they seem to me like they could be really strong options for a city for Dark Dimension 3 and 4.
I think so as well. My only concern for newer players is, where are they going to get the gold stars for these characters? Is Scopely going to make these characters available for new players to eventually replace the symbiotes? Anti-Venom still not available. Symbiote Spider-Man still not available. So hopefully this is the team that new players can use going into Elite Lanes in Dark Dimension 3, 4, and then subsequently 5. Any other thoughts on these Cloak and Dagger new warriors before we move on to some of the things surrounding this update?
Yeah, one thing I would just say is I think Scopely's trying super hard to make it so you can't skip these characters. So I know people ask me sometimes, like, is this skippable? Is that skippable? Like, they're basically, the power creep is so ridiculous in the game right now, and it's such a high level that you basically can't afford to skip the new characters at this point. So I would just do your best on these blitzes. Don't take the blitz off if it's a blitz character, for example.
Yeah, I saw a Reddit post on, where is our characters like She-Hulk that we could just leave at 1 star and not really have any repercussions for leaving her there? But yeah, it seems like a lot of these new characters, you're going to have to go hard because they're going to be needed for something and some of the future content in the game. But all right, are you ready to discuss all these bugs? Because there's a lot of them in this update. All right.
Oh, so my God.
There's a lot that he knows about. And I'm talking about Cerebro. He did post about a few of them, 2 of them here last night. The first was in the daily objectives, 2 that's related to raids. And I don't know if you're logging in right now and you see your daily objectives, there's that 2 that you can't complete. Well, I guess that's because the raids, they're not displaying properly and you can't claim those. So that affects your daily objectives. That also affects your strike pass if you're trying to go for Sam. And the second, Green Goblin crashing the game. Also seeing Falcon, Killmonger crashing the game. Are you going to place them on war defense until this is solved?
That would be a great strategy. I need to write this down, man.
But everybody was mentioning that. Oh, you got to play some more war defense now.
That's awesome. Like they'll never take your armory or something. You just put your everybody's putting Green Goblin down. Yeah, I gotta say, this is totally unacceptable for a game. I mean, we could laugh at it at this point because it's like Scopely. It's like one of these bumbling. It's like these old movies where they got the guy like stumbles over himself every 5 steps. Like, I don't know what to say with this. Like the fact that Cerebro had to post this is like game breaking stuff. Like, hey, by the way, the game may just totally stop working on you. If you see one of these characters, it's kind of like a major problem, no? I don't know what to make of that. We better get some amazing compensation.
I'm going to talk about the compensation that you're predicting for this, because if you guys at home are not aware, there's a lot of other bugs in addition to what Cerebro mentioned in his Reddit post. So let me just list these. We got daily challenges not resetting. The Doom rewards, they were reverting back to their old rewards. Bishop was temporarily in the war store for 45k credits instead of the normal credits. And I think there's some people that accidentally bought those. I hope those people get compensated for that. Nobu was appearing in the war store as well briefly when he was supposed to be taking out. The old ability orbs were in the offers. Milestone 2 orbs grading the old ability orbs. There's some kind of bug with a high roller milestone. How long are you predicting until these get fixed?
Well, some of them will get fixed quickly, right?
Hopefully.
So the ones that are like that they think they're gonna have to compensate us heavily for, they're gonna get fixed quickly. The Green Goblin crashed in the game. Some of the stuff though, it's gonna take forever, right? Like what's gonna end up happening is whatever the rewards for Doom or something will just be that way for a couple weeks, and they'll get to it when they get to it. I gotta say, I mean, I did have one new player asking me recently, like, when do I think there'll be compensation? Because he's like, that's when I can get a lot of stuff, is when there's compensation. That's when I get all my gold or whatever. And I will say, I was happy with the fact that we had fewer bugs over the last couple months, and it just looks like they haven't turned a corner over there, which is really disappointing.
I was thinking it would be positive, but I've always said if they're not going to fix the stuff, which I don't know if they're capable at this point. You know, they said they're their own harshest critics. They've said they're doing internal, they're changing things, and then these key things keep happening. So I don't know if they're not going to do it. I'm glad they're at least communicating with the community. But as far as when. It seems like some of these, they get resolved very quickly. I don't know what they're going to do with the Green Goblin, but others, we get this compensation 2-3 weeks later. You think some of these issues like the Green Goblin and especially these red dots for Strike Pass, do you think they're going to come sooner or later? I'll put the over under at 2 weeks.
I think later. I mean, remember how long or non-existent for certain ones. Remember like when the Thor hammer thing caused a bug? Do we ever get compensated for that? They just sort of took months to figure it out and then just said, sorry.
I don't think we did now that you mention it. That sucks.
Yeah, it does suck. You know, what they do, their strategy is have so many bugs that you can't possibly keep track of them all and ask for compensation for everyone.
Oh, yeah,
so
it's like those inbox messages. It was like, here's the compensation for this. Like, oh, that's good, but which bug was this for? Out of the millions of bugs that are in the game, I don't. I'm glad we're getting this kind of compensation, but I don't know what this is for. I don't know, man. I hope they fix this. This is not. This doesn't instill consumer confidence for make me want to spend more money in the game. And I don't think it does that for a lot of players. Before we move on from bugs into something I think is a little more positive, any other thoughts on bugs before we move on?
We'd be here all day if we kept talking more about bugs. So let's just stop.
All right. Let's go into something that I think is positive. I know that I think you think is positive as well. I know some of the community doesn't. It's these changes to real-time arena. Removing a lot of all of the objectives to use your abilities, focusing just on knockouts. Personally, I have found these a lot faster, which in my opinion is a lot better. I'm having to win 4 matches per day and done instead of doing match after match after match, trying to find a good match or trying to find these abilities. What are your thoughts on these changes to real-time arena?
Yeah, I've been getting like an insane amount of feedback on my Discord. Like players out of nowhere, not like asked by me, but people coming in saying like, man, this is the best RTA's ever been. And it's all because of what you said. There's just less of it. So like, yeah, I am blow through it. It's funny because it really says something about how bad a game mode is when the best way to improve it is to make it so you don't have to play it very much. So yeah, it's not fun in any way really at this point, but it gets done. I mean, I do feel bad for the players who, you know, don't have like the new characters. So I do think if you're queuing up with your Asgardians or something, trying to, you're going to get rolled. So I think that can be an issue, but they need to have leagues and separate things out a little bit better. Yeah. But in terms of getting through this stuff, it's clearly better than we were at before. There was no need for us to be spending hours and hours on RTA.
Oh yeah, there's spending 5 minutes is way better than spending 20 plus minutes per day on this stuff trying to grind it out. I gotta say though, I was happy that it just reduced the time. There's some matchups you go in. I'm having fun with these, even mirror matchups with like, oh, this is the best team for this season with what's based on what's banned. Even mirror matches, I'm having fun with. Are you having fun, or are you just putting this on auto? And fun relative to what it was before.
Yeah, I mean it's okay. Here's what I would say about it. I mean, the most positive spin I could put on RTA is just that it allows you to test out your characters and play them whenever you want, which is nice. Like I play Galaxy of Heroes, a different game, similar type game. Yeah. They don't have anything like this, and so you'll unlock a new team or something, and you can't use it because like where are you going to use it? There's no Blitz or RTA. So here, Blitz is kind of lame. You're playing against a computer and whatever. So this you can play and you can try out your new team. That's kind of cool. I tried out Deathpool yesterday and all that. I will say though that like what makes this game fun in my opinion is the strategy of planning out like what will counter what team. Yeah. I think that's what makes it fun, and this really does none of that. It's like, okay, I queue up my this season maybe it's the Dad Bros and Emma and whatever. Okay, I'll queue those guys up. You're going to queue the same team. Let's see who gets the coin flip. Let's play it out. We kind of know how it's going to play out. So it's not as fun as it could be, but it's fine. I mean, I don't really have a problem with it in the game. And if the main requirement was to play 2 to 4 matches a day, it's a lot harder to get worked up about. If they had this from the beginning, I don't think there would have been nearly the level of outcry.
Where would you like to see this go long term? I know there's a lot of players saying just scrap this mode. With these changes, only having to win 4 matches a day, I don't know if they need to totally scrap this mode, but would you like to see maybe the battle pass taken off, extended to other game modes? Is that kind of redundant now that we have strike pass? What would you like to see long term for real-time arena personally?
I'd like to see 3 things that are all kind of interrelated. I'd like to see the battle pass have an option for people to do blitz if they want to do it. Okay, so people who absolutely hate this don't have to do it. I think that they should separate this out into a casual and then a ladder version. So like, the tryhards can go and try to compete to see who's number 1, and they don't really get much in the way of rewards for it, let's say, but they get some, thing on their player card or something that says, you're number 14, or you get like some border around your avatar or something. Yeah. Something like that that's very meaningless, but they can feel good about themselves. The tryhards can be in their bracket.
Hey, bragging rights are pretty important for some people, so there's
right,
going to be people that really push for those.
It gives them an outlet, and then they could have the casual bracket for everyone. Is just like, I'm just trying to get my 2 milestones done or whatever, my 2 attacks for the day. So like the poor guy who's just like trying to bring in his guardians and wants to get through his 2 attacks for the day or whatever can just do that. I think then that would be fine. You'd have your, the most you'd have to do is 2 attacks a day for the objective, and you could do that in casual mode and be fine.
You know what? I would go further, because you said one of the problems was not being able to plan out your team. The draft was something that about a third of the community did like. I think if they could implement maybe that more hardcore mode, and for the people that want to play it, maybe bring back the draft in that mode, because the people that want to play it are playing it for just bragging rights. So bring back that strategy for people that actually want the strategy, I think, and then maybe just keep the casual mode like it is right now and just do your 2 or 4 wins per day and then done.
100%. I will tell you that was my favorite game mode. When that was introduced and I was doing tournaments, and then they did a lot of testing in the game, I had more fun with that game mode than any other game mode of the game. When they had the draft.
I think that draft does help it though, because this is a game that there are the counters like you mentioned, and if you don't know the counter, if you're going in blind, you could bring in a good team, but a totally wrong team against the team you're facing, and just like, I just quit. This is done already. All right. Moving on to something I think is positive too, something I think is negative, but some of the community may think is positive. Shang Chi coming to the game. The movie. I'm very excited for this movie. I was disappointed when I saw that the rumors were true, that he is part of this Heroes for Hire. He's going to make one of the most annoying war defense teams even more annoying. I know you're a lot more into war than I am. What was your reaction when you saw Shang-Chi coming to the game, and then that he was a Hero for Hire character?
Yeah, I was disappointed too, because frankly, at one point the devs had asked for some input, and my input was, can you please make this team useful elsewhere so that players, if they invest in him, can get some value out of this team other than just having him sit on more defense and never getting to play the team. Yeah. And he doesn't do that at all, right? It's just, okay, more stuff for war defense. The other thing I will just say is that they're really doubling down on, like, let's make war very long lasting and have like this mini boss kind of team. Like, they originally said this was like going to be a mini boss, the Heroes for Hire team.
Yeah, and then two taps all the time for this team is what they were saying.
Yeah, we quickly figured out how to one shot this thing, and so now they're like, oh well, we've got to introduce a character that makes it super hard again. I don't know. I mean, I'm not really excited about that. It'll change up the war meta, so it's going to be a challenge for me as a war captain or something to figure that out, but. Other than that, I personally think war defense teams are lame, and frankly, for only a small segment of players can really afford to spend resources on this stuff.
I was very excited for She-Hulk, and then I saw war defense. Very excited for Shang-Chi. Then I saw war defense, and it's just a little disappointing for myself. But Did you think that even with the addition of Shang Chi, that the Infinity Watch can still handle Heroes for Hire in war defense when this team is in entirety?
I think it remains to be seen. I mean, one thing that is very anti-Infinity Watch there is this damage per positive effect. So the Infinity Watch have on average 3 to 4 positive effects on the team throughout the battle.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a lot of damage coming in against Infinity Watch. The team is going to be a lot harder to kill now with the taunt from Luke Cage coming whenever a teammate gets below 60%, and he is getting a lot more health. So definitely going to be more of a challenge, and I think we're going to have to test that out and see. It's certainly not going to have the massive punch-ups that you're able to have now with Infinity Watch versus Heroes for Hire.
I like those punch-ups with that.
I hear you.
All right. So this is actually, before we move into Shang-Chi, one more question. He does look like he has a pretty decent kit. Not everything is on war defense. And I guess the question that everybody has, do you think that he'll have some viability outside of war defense, maybe on the city lanes of Dark Dimension? What is your gut?
My gut is probably not, because I use the 4 current members of Heroes for Hire and they get rolled, like absolutely rolled. In DD4, I've tested the full team in DD4, so they're pretty bad. Like they last on the final node, they last for like 3 to 5 turns before they just get destroyed. So I don't have high expectations here, but you never know.
Gamma? What do you with people like Gamma? Little easier. Do you think he'll survive and get some good?
Yes, for sure. And that's been huge for some people. I know some players have told me on my Discord that they were not able to clear Gamma before, and they finally are able to do it because this team is added to the center.
Nice.
So
and I like what they did with Gamma. Instead of what they did previously with Gamma with Pimtech, they just made Heroes for Hire in addition to defenders instead of replacing the defenders. So I'm glad that they did that, and hopefully he does have some viability and making easier for newer players. We also got more red stars for Ultron. He could now be 4 red stars, 5 red stars. Do you think that this changes anything about Ultron? Do you think that 5th red star, all that extra damage is gonna help him? Because I think Doom is a better character, but I think the bots for Ultron is a lot better, and this is gonna make his bots survive more. Do you think this brings him back into the meta conversation when you could actually get these stars for him?
Yeah, those are 2 different questions. It does help him. I just don't think it helps him enough. So I actually have some alliance mates who are crazy enough to do this. They spend so much on the game. They buy every single offer. So they I have a alliance mate who already has a 5 red star Ultron.
Okay, we got first-hand data.
Yeah, 20 million TCP, that kind of guy. He's got the G15 everything. I will just say, he said that it's basically just a luxury thing. It gives him very limited value. So he uses Ultron occasionally, and he says on certain nodes in 4.3, he's used them in the Greek raid and whatever, but he's not very good. The problem is in raids, the boss node has multiple black bolts. On a 3 black bolts. So he's really not an ideal choice for the Doom raid 1.1. So, or whatever Doom raid boss node. The other 2 nodes are pretty easy with Doom and Kestrel. You really don't need Ultron there. And so what are you investing in him for? Like as a, you're hoping he's going to be better in Doom 2, or, his stats are really power craft even with 5 red stars compared to the new characters. So, my gut would just be to, particularly if you're not, if you don't spend an absurd amount on this game, save your red star orbs for the new characters. That would be my common sense approach to it.
That was my next question. Is it tempting enough to open these red star orbs when there's not that increased drop rate, especially the normal ones, and they're just saving the increased drop rate for your 4s, 5s, 6s, all your elite stuff? Does this change anything for you as the way you're opening orbs?
Absolutely not. I mean, Admiral Akbar, it's a trap. I think this is like a Scopely trap to fool people into opening their limited stash of red star orbs when there's no featured character. So then when there is a featured character, it's like, oh, now Deathpool's here. I want to get, could you imagine somebody who's on a limited amount of orbs? Let's say you have 50 red star orbs. You blow them all when there's no featured character for Ultron, and then Deathpool comes. You're like, well, I need red stars on Deathpool. What am I going to do? Like, you're basically buying them up from zero, or you're like trying to, then you buy an offer because you're desperate. Like, don't do that. Just save your red star orbs for characters like Deathpool, please.
Luxury picks. Got it. That makes sense. That's kind of where I was leaning. But yeah, good. And if you guys have any other thoughts on this firsthand, and let me know. But let's move on to something that I think is kind of positive. I like some of these new costumes that they've added in the game. One of the ones that's available right now in the store that I think looks pretty good is this Invisible Woman one. We got costumes for Invisible Woman. We've seen the Carnage, the Taskmaster. Emma's been in the game for a while. We also got a new costume for Doctor Strange coming out. Do you like what they're doing with these costumes? And do you like the release method? Just the variety it gives some of your roster. Are you happy with what you're seeing so far?
Yeah, I gotta tell you, you remember. I don't know if you remember, but I was what I'll call a costume skeptic. I was like, early on, I'm like, man, I don't care about costumes. And here's what I'll say: they're moving in a direction that I like, because they are the new ones all look super cool, right? Yeah. Every single one. I like the Taskmaster one from the movie. That's pretty cool. I like the Carnage one. I love the Invisible Woman one. They're all really neat looking, and they're not like absurdly expensive. Like in the beginning, they're like, here's, spend $80 to get a different skin on your Carnage or something. Like, give me a break, right? No,
they haven't sold those. I don't think they sold very well, because they haven't brought that back.
Right. They realize, okay, no one's that stupid. So at least now I basically, as long as I play the game, I get the costumes for free, and I'm willing to do that because I play the game anyway. So I'm happy to sort of play the game and get my costume for free. And so I got my, got my Gamora costume and whatever.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm willing to grind for these costumes. I'm willing to play for these costumes. I don't know if I'm willing to spend for these costumes, unless they start making it like required, which I hope they don't do, by the way. But yeah, I like what they're doing, and I'm looking forward to these events. I'm looking forward to unlocking them, and I like what they did last time, that you could get both of the costumes. You got both of the costumes for Gamora, and you got the Daredevil costume, which is good, which is different than they did previously. So I think they're moving in a positive direction, because previously you couldn't get the Thor, the Vision, and the Scarlet Witch all in at one. So I'm looking forward to these. Any other thoughts on costumes? Because I think these are just like a fun change that was added to the game.
Yeah, I do think eventually this is going to get confusing, because like one thing I will say is especially when you're a newer player, you get to know the characters by how they look. It's going to be interesting like a year from now when every character's got like 3 costumes and like you're a new player, you're like, what the heck is that? Oh, that's like a very special skin for, this particular character, right? So it'll be interesting to see how that develops over time.
Yeah, I didn't think of that, because we're getting these one by one. We're getting like 3 a month. When a new player comes in and there's like all these costumes out, like, oh, who is this? Oh, who is this? How do I get my character to look like that? So I do see that downside now. So yeah, but in general, I think overall it's pretty good. We also got some good quality of life changes. It is about time. Let's talk about the one that I've been wanting since I started playing this game 3.5 years ago. Auto basic. Why is this important? And have you used this yet?
Yeah, it's super important because in raid nodes in particular, you want to, or in Dark Dimension, you want to save your cooldowns for the next node, right? So you're gonna want to do basic at the end. I always do manually do basic at the very end to make sure that your characters are gonna have those cooldowns for the next node. One thing I will say though, I learned the hard way since this got implemented, is when you do your own manual auto basic, you're still targeting and you're careful about what you do. If you put it on auto basic, you better be sure you're going to actually survive without your characters dying. So you have to wait longer. If you're used to basicing at a certain point, you may want to still manual basic for a little bit until you get so far down that like you even the AI can't screw that up, because I actually lost one of my characters and had to restart the game on a raid node because I auto basic too soon.
Oh yeah, I lost one, but it was in Gamma. It wasn't in Doom, so it wasn't as bad. But I did lose one, but I gotta say, overall, I'm very happy with this. Just it's not even 24 hours since this update. This will probably save me about half an hour that I could just put my phone down and do something else. Just recently. So I'm glad that this is that. Any other thoughts on this before we move on to the other big quality of life change?
Yeah, as I said, the next one is the biggest one to me. Like that's transformative. Like that's insane. That's so big.
Yeah. So just in case you guys are wondering why there's no auto basic if you're trying to implement it, you got to go to the new advanced settings and so go to settings, go to advanced settings, and down at the bottom you have to check auto basic command. And when you hit basic, you have a button that pops out and it's going to say either auto or the normal auto, or it's going to say basics, and that's how you use it. But yeah, let's move on to this one, because this one is a little more exciting for me as well. This is going to save management of time, and particularly for Blitz and War. That's where I think we needed these changes. But save squad tabs, it is about time. We've had to push so much for save squads. We finally got them in the game, and now we've gotten save squad tabs. Is this going to save you a lot of time in particular?
Insane. I mean, right now it's actually going to cost me time because I have to set them up. But man, I mean, it's huge. I mean, you have to see. I'll tell you, like when, for example, my own alliance, when people are like, what are your war offense teams? It's like I have to create them because all my tabs used to be for the blitz teams because that was the simplest way to set it up. And then I would manually change every time for a war attack, right, or your war defense or whatever. I mean, just the ability to have all that pre-done is going to be absolutely huge for me. Absolutely huge. And you always ran out. You'd want to set up tabs for raiding and for war and for all these things, but you just didn't even have the slots to do it. That totally ends now. It's huge.
Yeah, I like this. And, honestly, it will cost a little more time in the upfront, but I kind of like that. I kind of like having to redo my blitz teams, make them more efficient. I could split up some teams to make teams get score a little more overall. So instead of one team that scores like 90,000 points and then one team that scores 60,000, I could have two that score, way higher and that equal to a higher amount. And yeah, the organization of the war, I think down the road it's going to save a lot and may even make war a little more enjoyable for some people that you don't have to piece together your teams manually every time you want to do a fight. You just have them there like, oh, this is the counter, boom. It's so easy. So I'm liking that. And I think you could duplicate same characters, right? So if you have Hela on one team and you want to go in with Hela on a different team, or Taskmaster on one, and then not Taskmaster, Zemo on one team and another Zemo attack team, you can do that, and you have 40 slots for that. So
it's great. It's huge. I mean, without a doubt, the best thing that they've done in quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, both of these huge quality of life changes in this next update. And we also got one more change. Now, we've been expecting this for a while. We got notice of this. And even when we got the other 80 level cap increase to level 80, we knew that someday this would come. Wasn't publicized. I'm surprised that this came. We got a little tiny, the little bullet point at the bottom that level cap is increasing to level 85. I wasn't sure if it was coming because it wasn't really talked about in the in-game message that we saw previously. What level is your commander right now?
I'm still at 80 because I refuse to store up energy. So I'll tell you, Valley, a bunch of my alliance mates have been storing up energy for months. But these guys, these are these guys who have everything at G15 already. I mean, there are people in my line.
They don't need to farm. They
have nothing to do. Yeah, what do they need? Okay, they've got every character from hand minions on up to at 100K plus. So yeah, they don't need anything. I just felt like I couldn't give up, thousands of free energy a week to do that, because you lose out of the energy you take. So I'm still at 80. I do, I will now purchase some of the energy offers, I imagine. I don't think it looks like DD5 is coming this patch. I think it's coming next patch would be my assumption based on this list. So I think we have a month to try to catch up to all those guys.
Well, are they going to go DD5 or I probably from what the order that I think in the roadmap, I'm thinking next patch maybe Dark Dimension or Doom 2, and then after that Dark Dimension 5. But I'm hoping maybe it's not maybe it's not right off the bat because we need that teal gear from Doom 2 to get into Dark Dimension 5. So hopefully there's a little gap and it's not both of them dropping at once. But yeah, and not only did this, I thought this was there before. They added ISO 8. The campaign energy, when you spend that, you're also getting experience for your commander. So has that made a difference for you as well?
It's been great for me. I think it's even better for new players. You know, one thing I'll just tell you is I do try to help new players every month just to get a sense of how the experience is for them. Yeah. And lately what I've been hearing is, man, this grind to get from level 54 to 55, or that's what I think is so long. You know, because they're starting at 0 and trying to get all the way up to 80, now 85, it takes a long time. I think it's going to help them out too. I think that's good for the game to make that less of a grind. I don't really see the point of having people grind up that far to get, each one of those levels.
Yeah, like anything that helps newer players catch up is going to be positive for the game. One thing that wasn't mentioned, sometimes we get a lot of advanced information in Envoy, but this surprised me. We got a few minor reworks to characters. I guess it's not too major, so I guess that's why they didn't mention it. But we got reworks to Iron Fist, mainly to synergize with Shang Chi. Luke Cage also got a little bit of a rework, and then Deadpool just to synergize not just with Domino but also Deathpool. Do you think that these updates make a huge difference? Do you think that these updates for these Heroes for Hire make them even worse to face in Alliance War?
I think the Luke Cage one is particularly significant because now on War Defense, if he has Shang-Chi, so you got to get Shang-Chi, now whenever any ally drops below 60% health, he gains taunt. So that's, if you got the full team there, that's going to be very difficult, right? It used to be we would ignore Luke Cage, right? Well, generally what you did is you either remove the taunt or put Disrupt on him or whatever, and then you would just kill Colleen Wing, and there was no one else to worry about. Well, now you've got this situation where you're going to constantly have Luke Cage taunting. So that's, I think, a big thing for that team.
And I hope my Infinity Watch can still counter this team, because that's going to be rough for myself if not. Anything else? Do you think this? I don't think this Deadpool. Who would pair Deadpool with Deathpool? Is that just for fun type of thing, or is that?
Yeah, I think it's for flavor. They call it for flavor, right? I kind of like Vision and Scarlet Witch have like some interaction. I think it's kind of like that. I think that's just like a flavor thing. I think for Luke Cage, he also has more health, going from 10 to 15% or 10 to 25% per Heroes for Hire ally. I think is significant. Yeah. And then the Iron Fist having the ult not dodgeable is great, because it's going to hurt, by the way, Infinity Watch, because Infinity Watch early on often use that ult from Nebula and they all get the evades. And so then Iron Fist would waste that ult. So I think it's significant for people who, there are some people, you and I know some of these people, right, who are like over invested into Heroes for Hire, and so now they're all crying about like they're not unbeatable enough, right? So this is a tip of the hat to those people. I invested heavily in them as well, but I just do that for the new characters for the streaming purposes. So I don't feel as butthurt about the fact that they were easily beaten.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of this team. That's all I'll say.
There aren't that many, are there? I mean, could you imagine if we had a poll like favorite teams to use?
I love the war defense teams
that I don't even get to play with, because they operate on their own. I don't get the allure of those
cool
teams.
New outfit for Luke Cage and never ever see it. How awesome is that? It's only for my opponents.
Exactly.
All right. Also, this week we got a new player meta guide. Most of this stuff I agree with. There's some things that I would dispute a little bit, and some things I just don't know. Did you read this? And what is the feedback, if you have, that you've gotten from new players that have read this?
Yeah, so I had gotten feedback. I actually passed it along to Cerebro about their prior version, which was just really bad. Okay, this is the updated. This was just an attempt to make it updated. Okay. The prior version was like hot trash.
Just kind of bad.
This one is pretty bad, I'd say, still. Because, like, for example, it says one of the first hero teams you want to build up is Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, no.
Outdated.
You see it right there?
It was back in the day.
right back in like 2019, maybe that was good advice. I don't know, but like it's a lot, now, what I'm telling new players is build these OP characters, get Gamora and Nebula that are very accessible. When you get Sharon Carter for free, use her. I have new players who are using, I have one new player who's been using Sharon Carter, his 2-star Captain Sam, which he had to core up because he didn't even have enough levels. He had to core up those levels to get the full 2 stars, but he did it. And that the Secret Adventures with Nebula and Gamora, that's a much better way to get through these campaigns than trying to get through with like Guardians of the Galaxy. They're just totally power crept at this point.
Yeah. I mean, except for Gamora, but she's not really on the Guardians of the Galaxy anymore. She's more Infinity Watch now. What about this advice for returning players? They're recommending some decent characters here, trying to get the astonishing X-Men. They're recommending trying to build up X Factor to get that Infinity Watch. This seems like good advice because it's chasing legendaries, but still, this is more for the legendaries. Do you think these legendaries are that important that you should be chasing this if you're returning?
Yeah, it's really tough. I mean, I do think Jubilee and Adam Warlock are probably the 2 most relevant legendaries, but I really think that focusing on legendaries in this game is usually bad advice for players. Most of them are not that important anymore, but yeah, these 2 are fine. But I mean, my advice to new players would be really focus on some of the new teams that get released. You're not going to get, how is a new player going to get Infinity Watch? If you're returning, I should say. You're returning, you've taken a year off from the game, you come back, how are you going to get Infinity Watch without opening your wallet? Yeah. So my advice to a new player who doesn't have $1 million to spend on the game would be like, okay, well, you're going to get Deathpool for free and maybe Cloak and Dagger, make something out of them, right? I mean, work on those characters.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Cerebro should have taken a little bit of your notes in while writing this,
Yeah, right. Seriously.
Yeah, and the rest of this stuff is all right, but there's a lot of his explanation there. We're starting over. I think some of that really has to do with the arena ranking because your arena ranking is kind of tied to when you start the game and not necessarily where your power is and all that. Any other thoughts on this guide before we move on to some of the exciting data mines that we got with this next update?
Okay, that's more exciting. I do feel bad for the new players who are looking to this for guidance. Hopefully they find their way over to a better source of information.
Yeah, check out Philosopher's channel. A lot of new player tips there. Not really a lot of new player tips on my channel, but there's a lot of other good content creators that have a lot of new player guides as well. So, but let's talk about this exciting thing, the data mines. Maybe not as exciting as some of these previous ones, but all right. We got the information. Shang Chi, the unlock method for him. Now, I'm still kind of excited because he's Shang Chi and the movie's kind of cool. I just I don't know if I'm ever going to use him in the game because of his role on war defense, but it looks like it is an event character. So any thoughts on this before I read this? It looks like it's a pretty long data mine.
Yeah, well, I'll just say I like that they're doing a lot of events. I like event characters. I think that's a pretty popular release method. I think people like that. It's pretty free to play friendly as these things go. So I like it. I'm excited about that, and I'm excited about the character, even though I'm not the biggest fan of the Heroes for Hire team.
Yeah, I do like I said, I'm kind of excited about this event, even though Shang-Chi, I'm probably not going to really use them and build them up, but it's a very player-friendly release. We're having this Fire Essence event currency, earning that via campaign nodes, not including event campaign, getting that Blitz daily objective. So just grinding out, doing your daily stuff. We also have another Wise Warrior milestone, racking up points towards a 14-day milestone by spending this Fire Essence. So I guess that's going to be the currency that opens these orbs. You're getting Shang-Chi shards, various gear, Elite 6 credits. I know I need to restore my Elite 6 for the ones that I got for Deathpool that I didn't get anything great with. We're also getting these medallions, and I think these were popping up in the game for a little bit. I don't know if they're still popping up, but medallions, a limited time calendar milestone, and redeem them in the orb section for Fire Essence store and various rewards. Each of that rewards achievement progress. Open 7 to open gold phase bits, earn his new battle armor, and he actually has a nice outfit in the game. But again, a nice outfit on a war defense character, so cool outfit to unlock. I don't know how much I'm gonna actually look at it though. And he's got a new costume, and that's gonna go live or for the credits. Oh, it's going to be converted on September 22nd. So obviously this event is going to be ending a few weeks before the 22nd of September. Any other thoughts, and then some bonus events as well that just kind of some double things that they do. Now that you see some of the things, and some of these things look very familiar for some events that we've had in the past. Anything in particular stand out for this event coming up?
No, I do think that from datamines, there's different types of essences. You're going to have the ability to just, I think, select or have some input into which ones you focus on to give you different rewards. So I think there's some cool ideas there. And I just think it's good they're having events. Let's face it, right now there's a lot of competition for our entertainment options. There's a lot of games out there and lots of different things people are doing. Obviously, a lot of people are out and about and enjoying the summer. So, they should be working hard to keep us interested in the game. So I think they need to do more of this stuff.
Yeah, I like I said, I'm not even excited for a character. I'm excited for this event, so I do like when they have these. That probably was the biggest data mine. Let me just skim through this here, unless there's anything that you remember. So there's more stuff about this. Dark promotion credits, we already got that in the game. Issue Maria Hill. It looks like we're getting 6 or 7 stars. We're getting that compensation coming soon. We actually have the game, and then a crafting bug, which I gotta say, I wasn't aware if this was a bug, and we're getting compensation for that. We're having a 2-week calendar starting very soon, giving us 10 million gold coming up. And they did talk about this in the blog post last week. Did you know that this crafting was a bug? Were you crafting those pieces individually when you were upgrading your characters, or were you waiting till you had that craft all button?
I waited till I had the craft all button. I never did. I mean, I would never do an individual piece unless there's like one purple piece out of an entire, what would otherwise be an orange set, right? Like you have gear tier 14 with one purple piece. Otherwise, I just do the whole tier. I had read and seen people have done the math that it is worse. I have the feeling, Valley, this is my maybe I'm a cynical person. I think they realize that people are fed up with the gold issue, and this is their way of throwing us a bone. It doesn't solve the long-term problem at all, right? Yeah. But for a month or two, it makes you happy until you're like run out of gold again. You're like, oh crap, I've got to bring up everybody to 85.
Yeah, you know what? You might be right on that, but either way, I'm glad they're giving this, and I'm glad they're switching the crafting pieces, because I thought it was just like that. If you wanted to take up individual pieces, there's a little added cost for that, and if you're waiting till you get everything, then you get it a little cheaper. But I'm glad they're fixing that, so you don't have to wait to craft all those individual pieces there. And I think that is the major things in the data mine. A lot of little things here. There might be some other things that I was trying to brawl through. If there is anything I missed as far as the data mines, let me know in the comments. But brother Philosopher, it is always a pleasure. It's always fun talking to you, my friend. Anything else you want to discuss or promote before you go?
No, I'll just say this. If you are a newer player and you're struggling, whether it's with that advice or whatever else, I'm going to be doing a guide for this month on starting now, what to focus on. Let me know. Go to my Discord or my channel. Give me your comments, your thoughts about what your experience has been like and what advice you would pass along to the next generation of new players that are going to be starting Marvel Strike Force very soon.
Nice. So yes, I think that is very valuable, because like I said, I think it's very valuable to get the new players to that mid game and end game as quick as possible. So I'd appreciate that you're doing that guide. And guys, the links for his channel, for his Discord, anything else you want to send me, Philosopher, it will be down below. So click on that, check it out, make some really awesome content, guys. And that is it. That is all I got for you this time. Let me know what you think of this update. Are you happy? Are you sad? I know there's bugs, but do you think despite the bugs, do you think this is more of a positive or a negative update? I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys say. And Philosopher, always a pleasure, my friend. Before you go, give me that Hulk fist bump.
Hey, let's go.
And I'll pretend you're holding up your fist to the screen.
I actually am.
Oh, yeah, baby. All right, thanks, guys. Check out some of my other videos. Subscribe. And if you're listening to the podcast version, make sure you leave this a great review on whatever platform you're listening to. Hulk fist bump, ValleyFlyin, and Philosopher out.